Duke Nukem Forever started out really, really weird. Not the game, just the atmosphere around the game. I've never before I played Duke Nukem Forever, I had never played a single Duke Nukem game at all. I had no idea what it was about. It was kind of like that was back in the PC generation when the PC generation was really hitting it with some pretty sweet games on it. And I was too young to own a PC, or at least a gaming PC. We had like computers around, but like we're talking like the simple school. You could like do math on it, like real bad, real low end computer. So didn't have a gaming computer, couldn't play any of those things, like Gradius and stupid things like that came put on the computer. But same difference. Just avoiding that, going off into discussions. Didn't have a computer in my house. Didn't have a computer that I had available in order to play that game. So I had nothing. Like I have no nostalgia for the series. I've never played any of the games. At the point now, I played Duke Nukem 3D and blah 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 blah. But so I came in like basically, I think it was like 2010. I think the game came out in 2012, but 2010 the game was bought and redistributed by a different company, and we had like a definite 2-year release date. Like I think Gearbox. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Gearbox was the publisher. I don't think they were the developer. Maybe they could have been the developer. But as it turns out, they had a 2-year release on it. Crap, I forgot to plug in my computer. There was a 2-year wait like left. They basically they said it was going to be done in 2 years, no matter what. There was a hard deadline coming, and all of a sudden, like beforehand, it was a lot of sarcastic people talking about it. Oh, Duke Nukem Forever's been in development for 12 years, 13 years, 11 years. So people would talk like that. So, I mean, it's quite reasonable. Like, it literally was in development for 14 years. Well, you use the quotes development. It wasn't in development. I guarantee you people just didn't work on it. But whatever. So, Duke Nukem Forever just like started getting some more press and started getting talked about because it was getting the definite release, like they said. And then everyone's like, oh, if it comes out, we'll believe it. So, people were talking like that. Then it starts getting closer and then we're talking 2-3 months before launch. And there isn't a single person not talking about this game. For a game that no one liked, for a game that no one talked about, everyone, like not no one talked about it, a game that no one liked, a game that essentially no one played, this got talked about more than any other game ever in the history of all games. It makes no sense how much this game got talked about. Like it was to the point where like at the point I still had never played a game, so I had no nostalgia, I had no context in order to put what this game was, what this game was going to be. And so you go into your GameStops and you go into all your other things, and like, do you want to pre-order like all this? And you want to pre-order the game? It's going to get it. I'm like, no, we're gonna have to wait. Yeah, we're gonna have to wait for Duke Nukem Forever to come, for that thing to come out before I put my money into it, because a lot of people despise it and everyone's talking about it, a bunch of smack about it, and blah blah this and blah blah that, and a $60 game for that, and it's like, whoa, $60. So you get like, that's what it is. Like, frankly, like there was a lot of toxicity before the game even came out. Like, it was like the 3 months leading up to it. I don't know if you guys remember or not, but I remembered a lot. Like, it was toxic. People were talking some mad crap about this game, and people hated the game before it came out. So it comes out, it gets horrible reviews. Everyone talks about how bad the game is. People talk about it. It's pretty sad, because in hindsight, looking back at it, it was one of those games. It wasn't as severe. It really wasn't as severe as the Final Fantasy Spirits Within syndrome. Well, I don't know. Basically, like, if you haven't watched that video, you have to go watch that video. Hopefully, I'll put a link in the description. Maybe not, because it'll be up before this gets uploaded. It'll be a while. But basically, I already talked about it, where every single human being on the planet that has ever been involved in Final Fantasy was manipulated and controlled by the stupid mass thought created by one person. Mind you, one person manipulated all of us, or at least everyone was so stupid that they gravitated to one horribly stupid idea. But that's besides the point. But basically everyone thought it was not a Final Fantasy movie. That's basically the argument that I've ever heard from. I probably had this argument like from 20,000 different people, everyone said the same thing. It's ridiculous how horrible it is. No one watched by that standard because of that. No one has watched the movie. Very few people have actually watched Final Fantasy Spirits Within, and I'm talking like maybe 1,000, maybe 2,000, maybe 5,000 at most people have watched this movie, and I mean actually looked at the movie and actually have consumed the movie without walking in with an extreme bias and then walking out with an extreme bias. That's not consuming the movie. That's not there's a difference between coming out of a movie and hating that movie and going, wow, now I hate the movie. But when you go in hating the movie and then you come out hating the movie, you did not consume that movie. You did not watch that movie. You did not partake of that movie. You weren't even paying attention to that movie. All you did was transfer one bit of hate to another bit of hate. And nothing's changed. You've never thought about it. You've never seen it. And your arguments against it are pretty stupid. Guess what happened here? Yeah, pretty easy to tell. So Duke Nukem Forever comes out. A lot of people hate it. Guess what though? No one played it. This happens so often I can't even believe it. And this is the reason why I don't like gamers. This is the reason why I started that video series called Jafar, because it's necessary. Gamers do some really, really retarded stuff, and some of the most respected gamers I've ever had the privilege of listening to talk have defiled and basically disgraced their own intellectual greatness, their own ability to think for themselves and perform and just be intellectual leaders of gaming and stuff like that, and being the hardcore hitters of these things, and being proud defenders for all this crap and all this rights, and that gaming's an art form and gaming can be good and all this stupid crap. Even every one of those guys that actually legitimately hold, that I may even still respect, but I guarantee you that respect has lessened because of the sense that these guys picked up, and they said the same things. They fell in with the same amount of hate, and they fell in with the same amount of bigotedness, and they did not play the game. It's pretty evident. If you go back and look at the reviews of the game, if you go back and see what people were saying about it, see what people were talking about it, they did not consume. They did not partake of the game. They've never played the game, which I think most people would agree with me. It's pretty intellectually dishonest to state your opinion on something that you yourself have never played. I've done it. I've only done it a few times, but that's because maybe it was a sequel to a game I really, really loved, and it was made by the same developers, and it's made within the same recency, but it was on a different platform that I didn't have or still don't have. And so that's what creates it. Basically, I've only done it a few times, and the few times I've done it, I've regretted it pretty aggressively, and I've tried stating my opinion, but normally the things I stated the opinion on first has a lot more weight than everything else. But this is basically Virtue's Last Reward, Xeoscape Virtue's Last Reward. I said I thought that game was pretty sweet before I played it. Then I played it, and then it turned out to be pretty. Compared to 999, it was bad. I know I've talked about 999 a lot in these videos, but compared to 999, it was bad. Compared to other games that came out, it was all right, but it wasn't good. So, bam! I talked about. I disclosed an opinion that does not need disclosing, and I basically made myself intellectually dishonest. Now, I apologize for that ahead of time. I do not know if the people I'm getting ready to talk about apologized at all, and they probably didn't, and they probably won't. So I guess a point for me, but frankly, it's just one of those things where when you look back at it, it really, really gets bad. Because at least with mine, it was just, I had not had the ability to play it yet. So, it's just one of those things. It's one of those faults I had, and this is a bit different. Just go back and look. I guarantee you, if you go back and look, and at least after hearing what I have to say about it, you will definitely be able to tell no one played this game. There's quite a few people. Total Biscuit, he put his mouth full in. Yeah, it didn't come out very well. You can tell I don't like Total Biscuit all that much. I think he's intellectually dishonest at best. Corrupt at worst, but intellectually dishonest at best. he put his words in it. He didn't have anything good to say about it. But at least he's normally basically a prick like that, where he generally doesn't have anything good to say about it. So at least I can give that to him. Yahtzee, one of the most sad and depressing of the people I'm getting ready to talk about is Jim Sterling. I don't know how many times I talk about this guy. I talk about him all the time. I love him. I think he's great. I think he's done great. But he talked about how it's a bad game, about how it does stupid things, and it's like, man, Jim, there's a lot of things I have problems with. Like, basically with everyone talking about, which this will be another video, so I don't want to get too much detail about liking Resident Evil 6, and Jim Sterling threw his hat in that ring. But at least I get it. But it's not correct, though. Again, we'll talk about that in the video, but it's most certainly not correct. Resident Evil 6 is not a bad game, by any stretch of the definition. It's a retarded story, but it's not a bad game. It's just, like, and then you have Angry Joe giving it a 2 out of 10, and that's like the perfect. Here, I know I'm kind of doing stupid rambling right now, but Angry Joe is literally the perfect average man when it comes to this whole situation. Because, again, like Final Fantasy Spirits Within, everybody, we're talking 99% of the people were manipulated by this idea. Luckily, Duke Nukem Forever didn't have that. Duke Nukem Forever did not have that. What happened, it's about 80% rather than 99%. But Angry Joe is basically the middleman. Angry Joe is basically the perfect average man to encapsulate this entire idea, this entire, explosive nature of how no one played this video game, no one consumed this video game. Everyone is just dumb and not being conscious and not being aware of what they're doing. They walk in bigoted, they walk in hating the game, they walk out bigoted, they walk out hating the game. That's all it is. He gave it a 2 out of 10. Not that I really care about it, but basically that's what it is. And I'll talk about things later. I'm getting crazy. I need to get my thoughts back in place. The problem is I haven't played it in a bit because, well, there's no real reason to. It's pretty linear, straightforward game. Don't need to play it more than once. Basically, I think it's 2000. I think it came out in 2012, and this is my opinion. This is where all the controversy comes from because no one is going to agree with me. Even if you agree with me, you're not going to agree with me on this one. I believe it's the best game to come out in 2012. I think that's when it came out. I think it's the best game to come out in 2012 or 2011, whatever year it was. I'm pretty sure it was 2011 or 2012, one of the two. A lot of people will disagree with me on that. The thing is, it came out, like, the year it came out, Dark Souls came out. And people would be like, how can you say that? You love Dark Souls. And I love me some Dark Souls. Dark Souls is such a great game. But one of the biggest things about it, like, sometimes what a game does and what a game stands for and what a game states is way more important than what it actually, like, how it plays. And that's, I think, where the ultimate thing comes from. It's actually it's in my top 100 video games of all time list. Let me check it real quick. Where is it at? It's low on the list, though, so you don't got to worry about it. It's actually 89. 89. It beat out 10 games. It beat out... well, technically, but I don't care. It beat out 10 games. If I know no one's going to believe me, no one's going to think it, but you just please hear out my argument before you start typing, or even hear out my argument before anything else, before you stop listening to it. But Duke Nukem Forever was the best game to come out at that time, and I love Dark Souls too. The reason why is because it calls you stupid. It calls me, it calls every single person who played the game stupid. It calls everyone who didn't play the game stupid. It talked about everyone who never even heard of the game. Like, it called not even heard. Everyone who was involved with this game in any aspect, whether they played it, they didn't play it, whether they talked about it or didn't talk about it, whether they were part of video games or not, everyone who ever even saw the box art, everyone who was even close to him, it called them stupid, because whoever was the developer for this game, whoever was in charge of this game, knew ahead of time what was going to happen. This guy predicted this stuff pretty well, and frankly, I'm normally supposed to give kudos to this, but it's so easy to do nowadays. With gamer entitlement and gamer... I don't know how you even talk about it. Basically, it's just the mass delusion and like stupidity of gamers these days and gamers of the past, even like past 5 years now. It has become infinitely easier to predict these things, and that's what he did. Whoever, he or she, whoever it was, they saw what was going to happen. They got handed the game, forced to finish it. They noticed that it was not going to be good, and what they ended up doing is they just made a statement with it. They knew they couldn't make a good game. They knew that they couldn't finish a game, make it worth, make it rival Duke Nukem 3D, make it a decent game. So what they ended up doing was just making a beautiful statement, and it calls you stupid, it calls you retarded, and it's beautiful. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but here's where all the disconnect comes from. Here's where everyone kind of is intellectually dishonest about this thing. Me, never played the game before, remember that. I've never played anything Duke Nukem Forever completely fresh eyes, not having any nostalgia. Basically, a year after the game comes out, it's on sale for $5 because it got hammered. And so the price dropped, and then it was on sale, so it's for $5. Yay! And I picked that up because $5. How even if a game is the worst game you've ever played, for $5, you're really, really not like losing out that much. For $5, you're still like you're not doing that bad. I bought a lot of crap for $5. Basically on Steam, I've two of my favorite games that I bought and played on Steam were Alpha Protocol and Mirror's Edge. Those were not worth $5. Those were worth a lot more than $5, even when I bought them. And it's like it's sad how much I feel like I actually ripped off those developers. But whatever, I got it for $5, so I bought Duke Nukem Forever as well. $5. What's the harm? And I play it, and it's pretty average. Without the statement, it's a fairly average game. It's a 5 out of 10. It is a 5 out of 10. I have never played a more average game ever. The jokes hit and miss with such like variety and range that it's not consistent at all, making it fairly average. Like every aspect of this is average. The shooting's average, the level design's average, the gameplay is average, everything is average. I've never ever played a game this average, really. I mean, there were probably some more that were dull average that I couldn't beat. Like, oh, it's so run-of-the-mill, I can't do anything about it. But Duke Nukem Forever was definitely average. Definitely no 2 out of 10. And the second I played it, and the second I started like throwing the ideas together, it was definitely the idea that came to me that when I noticed that these people were calling us stupid, when I noticed that the developers were intentionally calling us retarded, and I think I'm the only person to figure this out. I probably ought to do a bit more research and check out to see if I'm the first one or not. But I guarantee you, I'm one of the few. The game calls you stupid, and it's beautiful. And we'll talk about it later. But I think that's what pushed me, because I kept thinking, like, once I notice it, and it happens right off the bat. Like, it happens right off the bat, like 3 or 4 times right off the bat. And frankly, it really ingrained in me. This game's calling me dumb. And it's not being, like, shy about it. It's being pretty honest about it. It's not like, it's not like slipping me a card, and like within the card it like has this like love note, but inside the love note it says "you're dumb," in the letters. Like if you need to spell it out. No, it's basically it's them walking up, hitting us, calling us dumb, and no one saw it, because again, the gamers, the mass that we know as the gaming fans, the gaming consumer, is pretty stupid. I hate to say that, and people probably get pretty mad at me about that, but it's true. It's so true. It's not even funny. Because you can't do this. You can't go into a game like this and then walk out of the game going, "It's the worst game I've ever played. It's only a 2 out of 10. It was a horrible game. Worst game of 2012, 2011." And not notice this without being stupid, If you did not, and I hate to say this, but if you did not catch it, like a lot of times I'm like, no, because sometimes I do believe that I do have at least some intelligence about me, and I can pick these things up. But this was one of those things where it was, if you were even paying attention, even the slightest bit, and if you were again, you weren't going in bigoted, you weren't going in with already a game plan in mind, with already your own beliefs in tow. you were gonna pick this up pretty easily. If you did pick it up, and you were going in without it, I'm sorry, but it's really obvious. It's pretty obvious. Like it's calling you stupid. It's pretty obvious. But frankly, again, without that notion, without that like benefiting, without that changing the idea, if I'm just talking about the game, in the most basic terms of just did I like it or did I not like it, it was actually somewhat enjoyable, I guess. But it was like every other first-person shooter I've ever played. I mean, within recent years. Just like every other Call of Duty game. Just like every other Call of Duty game. Just like every other, all the new Battlefields and like all that stuff. It's the same. It's basically the same thing. And people would probably like be violent about that. Like, no. Like, even BioShock Infinite, it's the same thing. Like, yeah, the story's different, and the story is probably, I can't say with the ending, but the story is probably better. But it's like, the gameplay is basically the same thing. It's like, oh no, you don't have this, you don't have that. And it's like, oh man. And people complain about load times. I'm like, I'm sorry, I have a pretty cheap computer. I don't have a very good computer at all. My load times were nothing. Maybe you shouldn't be playing on Xbox 360. Oh, but that's basically where this whole thing comes down to. Because, yeah, I call it the greatest game of all time. I'm going to explain myself why in a little bit. But that's what it all boils down to. It's the fact that everyone played this game. It's like, they didn't notice. They got, like, if everyone was talking about how stupid and generic all the Call of Duty games are, and how stupid, like, everyone, I'm talking everyone, if 80% of the gaming community was talking about how stupid and generic every single one of these first-person shooters are that are coming out, that don't really do anything, they don't challenge anything, they might change some mechanics up, but it's never enough, it's never to that degree. It's never to that degree. It's never to that. It's not to a level where it's understandable. Like maybe Borderlands, maybe a couple of games that but the shooting's the same. The basic mechanics are the same. It's just what you do is pretty different, and how you do it and how you work with others and all that stuff can be different. But the generic the shooting's the same. I've never there's variations within it. Some are better and some are worse. And I'd probably even argue that Call of Duty definitely would have better gameplay. But I'm sitting there playing Call of Duty and I'm like, well, this is literally the same as Duke Nukem Forever, except for I'm killing fat pigs and stupid aliens and stuff like that. Whereas in this, I'm just shooting people. Like, if that's the difference, then why is this? If that's the fundamental difference, and it literally is the fundamental difference, why in the world was this getting a 2? And that's what it got a lot. It got a lot of 2s. And other places getting and then all these Call of Duty games getting 8s and 10s and 9s, and even when the people who despise these games just because of the popularity effect, just because they want to be hipster douchebags, because I don't like Call of Duty games just because it's the same game every time. But it's never the original Call of Duty, and I'm talking about Modern Warfare. I'm not talking about Call of Duty, but the Modern Warfare I thought was nice. I thought Modern Warfare did a decent job of doing what it needed to do. Every game after that's been the Modern Warfare, but it's been Modern Warfare, but it's literally the same. So whatever. But that's where I'm trying to get the point across. People wanted something to hate. That's really what they wanted to do, and that's what came about. It's such an average game. I can't state that any more than I already have. There's nothing about this game that is that bad. People talk about even Angry Joe in his review talked about how bad the level design was. I'm like, are you sure? Are you sure you played this game? Because the level design was stupid. I mean, no, I even take that back. The level design wasn't even stupid. The level design was level design. It was a level that was designed. There's nothing special about it. There was I was almost never lost. I don't think I was ever lost in that game. So the level design had to be at least decent. Again, average 5. I'm not running through this game and going and having my mind blown about how sweet this game is, But, at the same time, it wasn't bad. Alright, so all that stuff. Everyone hates. Everyone's blah, 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 blah. So, let's just leave it at that, because, frankly, I think I did a good job. I guess I can't do a good job because I wasn't sarcastic enough or whatever, but that's what it boils down to. It's average. It's a 5 out of 10. I'm not kidding. That's subjective. I mean, that's objective. That's me not, like, seriously, never ever played a Duke Nukem Forever game before this. Me being as objective as I possibly can. Someone who plays a lot of first-person shooters, but who doesn't really like first-person shooters anymore because of the sameness. Guess what? Duke Nukem Forever, another same game. I have since played Duke Nukem 3D. I got it on Steam when it was on sale, and I also got Shadow Complex. And I at least grasp where a bunch of this hate came from. If, in fact, if this hate did not manifest itself before the release, if this hate manifested itself after the release of Duke Nukem Forever, I could at least contribute some of it to it. But the fact that the hate came from beforehand just proves that these people don't, like, they're lying. And they're being intellectually dishonest about it. And it has nothing to do with nostalgia. It has nothing to do with Duke Nukem 3D. But I do kind of get it, though. Because Duke Nukem 3D is a fun game. Like, not even a little fun. It's a whole lot of fun. When people call it, like, the first-person shooter, the first-person shooter of the golden age, I can kind of get behind that. It's a pretty sweet game. It's a pretty fast-paced game. It's a difficult game. I'm like, wow. I'm playing on easy, and I'm like, wow, I'm taking so much damage. This is crazy. Because it's old school. Old school games don't hold your hand, that's for sure. But it's actually a pretty sweet game, and I can't believe how much fun I've had with it so far. So how does this game call you stupid? Well, essentially what the developers did was they made it as apparently as it possibly can that you were Duke Nukem. That you weren't playing Duke Nukem, you weren't watching Duke Nukem, you were Duke Nukem. And it happens quite frequently where it makes fun of you, but you're Duke Nukem. That's the whole point of this. If you're not willing to believe that the argument that you're supposed to be Duke Nukem, and I think that you're supposed to be Duke Nukem in Duke Nukem 3D, but it's different though, because Duke Nukem in Duke Nukem 3D, he's really cool. Yeah, he's misogynistic. Yeah, he's kind of a prick, but he saves the entire world. He can do what he wants. But I think more of Duke Nukem is a cool character that you want to inspire to. You're not actually, like, it's Indiana Jones. You're not Indiana Jones. You want to be Indiana Jones kind of thing. But whatever, same difference. But the fact is, in Duke Nukem Forever, you are Duke Nukem. You are Duke Nukem. What you are not is intelligent, yeah. Duke Nukem never seemed like a stupid person to me. I don't know, maybe in some of the other games, because I haven't played all of the games, I've just played 3D. And I think most people have just played 3D. A lot of people, at least. Most people have played 3D, and even then, probably a little after that. But what Duke Nukem Forever does, and this is a thing that, never mind, let's just go back. I have no idea what I'm talking about. But the first time it comes up is, it's a flashback to Duke Nukem 3D, or something like that. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be the end, because I haven't actually beaten Duke Nukem 3D. It's too hard for me. I'm a big baby. But Duke Nukem, but I'm pretty sure the introduction, because I think I remember watching it, is literally the ending of Duke Nukem 3D. The very first introduction, it's because you fight that same guy, you kick its eye through the field goal, and I think that happened in Duke Nukem 3D. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But and here's another thing, real quick. Sorry to sidetrack, but one of the things that they did, people complained about, is the fact that you can pick up poo and throw it. It's like, this is what your game's all about, picking up poo and throwing it. I think this is Angry Joe. It might have been other people, but a lot of people probably made that argument. Picking poo up and throwing it. Is this what your game's all about? Peeing and picking poo and throwing it. You could do this in Duke Nukem 3D. Remember that Duke Nukem 3D is, one, the entire inspiration of Duke Nukem Forever, and two, the first intro sequence, the only place where I found poop and that you could throw a poop. I never threw it in the first place because it was kind of weird. That was in Duke Nukem 3D, at least I'm pretty sure it was. Maybe not, who knows, I don't care. But they did it, they threw it in there because it was nostalgia bait. And everyone's all like, "Oh, it's so stupid. You can pee in the game." Yeah, you can pee in Duke Nukem 3D. I know that. Whatever. You go out. You're basically in the football field. And it's like, what are you gonna do? What's your game plan? And so you can pick up the marker. And I love. This is my favorite part of the game because it really, because one, it does felicitate all of the stupid crap in this game. But it's just the fact that how you control it, it makes it intentionally worse than what you would have normally done it, and it's much fun. It's funnier. But basically, you sit there and you pull out your marker and you start drawing on the board. Like, what's the game plan? What are you gonna do? And no matter what you do, no matter, even if you do actually make a genuinely good plan, what the guy says is basically saying, I don't know what you're talking about. I have no clue what you're doing, but it's great. It looks great. It sounds great. It's gonna be great. That's clue number one. That is clue number one. Yeah, so basically, you're sitting there doing your doodling, and you're being, I think at least I was being stupid on purpose because it's supposed to be funny, I thought it was a funny joke. You're supposed to be funny. I mean, the way the guy reacts is, it's the same as everyone else, no matter what you do. But the way the guy reacts is, it's almost questioning your intelligence. This one's probably like the most contrived of them, I guess, of my points. Because this one's, I didn't think it was. I was like, it's just a funny comment. Because, people like Duke Nukem. People like Duke Nukem. He saved the world, People like him. But so you're signing your thing. Not you're signing, but you're doing this thing. And you're drawing on this thing. And he's talking. He basically calls you stupid. And so you're like, oh, okay. But it's true. I did make the dumbest plan ever. Oh. I made the dumbest plan ever, and it was just a bit of stupid before I went in there. You beat the guy, you beat the boss up, and bam, you go into the more present day. You're sitting around, and you live at the top of your own museum, like some kind of pathetic, narcissistic fool. But whatever. You then go down, and you sign the kids. Stupid, like you sign the kids, whatever. He gives you a book or something to sign. I can't remember what he gave you. And you sign it, and the dad makes a sarcastic comment, and the kid makes a sarcastic comment, and then Duke Nukem goes, make sure you take your your vitamins. And it's like, oh, great. I was like, well, I get why people don't like the humor in this game sometimes, because that was a bad line. But then again, I think that line was meant to make, again, you look stupid. Remember, I'm pretty sure, I'm very, very sure, like 99% sure, this was intentionally done to make you look stupid. Alright, there's several other points. I'm hoping I can get this. I can't remember the actual order of them, but I'm pretty sure they're here. I think it's when you're in the museum still. It's when you get in the car, like the tiny little buggy and you're driving around. But actually after that, when you get big again. But you have to solve this puzzle. This happens a lot, where you have to solve this puzzle. And in order, you have to solve this puzzle and move some stuff up, and you can jump up and get up to the soldier. And while you're doing it, the soldier's kind of talking about how, the soldier's saying some pretty snide comments about how Duke Nukem, he doesn't know how to solve puzzles, he's not that smart. And they say this stuff over and over again. It's like, Duke Nukem, are you sure Duke Nukem can handle this puzzle? Are you sure Duke can handle this puzzle? Does he know what to do? They keep saying this, should we help him? They're saying this crap all the time, and you just gotta pick up this. You gotta notice it. It's weird. It's weird how often this happens. Again, like I said, pretty sure it's intentional. Pretty sure it's intentionally stupid, making you look stupid. And that's one. And then I think it's the first puzzle you have to solve, where you have to do the thing where it's the Duke Nukem statue and you have to turn it. I think maybe not. It's maybe some other kind of statue, but you have to turn the statue so that way you can line up and you can jump on it and all that fun jazz and get up to a higher level. Another instance is the fact that you're in this kitchen and you're shrunk. And this woman is sitting in the middle. I think the floor is electrocuted or something like that, and she's standing on something. Or she's basically knelt over on all fours, on a desk or something. On a small table. And she's like, Duke Nukem, help me. And then she's all and then basically the whole time while you're doing it, you can see her in the background, and you can hear her talking the whole time, while you're this little tiny guy running around top of skillets and stuff, shooting other tiny things for some reason. And it was talking, and she's sitting there talking wait, if Duke Nukem's smaller, does that mean his brain's smaller? And all these things, calling you stupid. And I'm sitting there like, woman, I am trying to save your life. You don't need to be calling me dumb. But again, it's intentional. Like, this happens so often. I know. If I would have played it again, I'd have it more concrete. Like, I'd have it more concrete in my head, and I could definitely present a better point. But frankly, it doesn't matter because, again, 80% of you never played the game, so it doesn't matter. So that one happened. There's another puzzle, which I can't remember though. Then one of my favorite parts, and this definitely this basically proved it for me that I was stupid. It's the strip club. Duke Nukem owns a strip club, and during his mission, he falls out of a helicopter, and he basically goes unconscious, and then has a weird flashback back to the strip club. And he's there, and there's 5 people at his strip club. 5 people at his strip club. 6, 7 maybe, who knows, but it's a very, very small number, with only 3 or 4 strippers. Now, I'm not a goer. I don't go to strip clubs. I'm not a consumer of strippers. But I'm going to have to bet, I'm going to have to believe that even if it was in the middle of the week at 1 o'clock, at the weirdest hours you can possibly have, his strip club would be booming with a lot of people and a lot of strippers and a lot of money coming through that thing. This is literally the most famous person in the world. He saved the world from the alien invaders. He literally is one of the most famous icons, to the point where his museum got a lot of traffic. He's one of the most well-known people on the planet. And you're telling me that his strip club, the strip club he owns and runs, has so little people in it. Has 3 people in it. That was the weird thing to me. I was why are there so few people in here? I'm where I live, there's a bunch of strip clubs, and there's still people there during the day. Definitely not as many, but just imagine if we had a world famous strip club. The world famous strip club, where the guy owning it is the coolest and most hip and most well-known and beloved person on the planet, had a strip club down the road before I lived, I wouldn't be able to go to sleep any night. I wouldn't be able to do anything. It would be the loudest thing. There'd be at least 50 people there all the time. It would be a very packed place. That's the weird thing. It's he's so pathetic. He's so pathetic that he can't even have a strip club that has that many patrons to it. And that's one of the things that really, really hit it for me. It's man, he has a horrible strip club for being the most famous person on the planet. And another thing is, I think there was some kind of achievement for it, so I did it. But basically, you can get a blowjob through a glory hole in the women's bathroom. And I had to check, because I had to see for myself, because I'm sitting here, mulling this whole thing over about how the game's calling us stupid, and how it's calling us pathetic and weak, and all this funny thing is, I'm trying to really try to get underneath it, really try to find all the evidence I can, really trying to fill everything out and making sure that I'm right. I don't want to have this opinion and be oh, well, there's only a little bit of chance of that. I only found a little bit of evidence. And so basically, after you get the blowjob at the glory hole, I was okay, that's blah, blah. I'm there's something weird about this to me. So I started jumping up and down and trying to get on, trying to see over the stall to see who it was. And what it turns out, that's a dude. That's a dude in there. And yeah, I know. Most of the time, glory holes, if you go into a glory hole, there's not a woman behind there. It's a dude. It's a dude that's gonna blow you. It's a dude that's gonna suck you off. It is not a woman. Almost never. It is rarely a woman. Again, not a purveyor of glory holes, but not a consumer, not a partaker of glory holes. But I have heard my stories. I have read my forum pages. And so, frankly, what everyone tells me is the fact that there are never any women there. So, again, I could be completely wrong, but who knows. But either way, it's Duke Nukem Forever. I mean, it's Duke Nukem, one of the most iconic people and one of the most beloved people on the planet. At his own strip club, which has 3 people in it, has 5, 6, 7 people in it, 8 max. 3 strippers, 4 strippers, like very few strippers at all. Getting a blowjob from a dude in the women's bathroom. That's where it all kind of boils down to. That's where it all comes down to, and that's where that basically I was like, oh, and that's it. That's it. It's just one of those things where it's like people complain about, oh man. It's just a sick, sad thing. And it happens a couple more times. I can't quite remember all of them, but there's several more times where your intelligence is brought into question. And it happens quite a lot. It's actually pretty funny how often it happens. And so that, I mean, it's there. The evidence is there. If you played again, I guarantee if I played again, I could find you another 5, 6 more examples of it. Because it happened. It happened a lot. It was one of those things where it blew my mind how often. It blew my mind how often it was. Because it's like, there's no way it was a coincidence anymore. There's no way. Because like I said, I know I've never played a Duke Nukem game before this, but like I was like, is being called stupid like that profound? That normal of a thing? And then when I played Duke Nukem 3D, no. Heck, if someone would have called you stupid in that game, by the time the word stupid would have left that guy's mouth and hit your ear, the vibrations, Josh, the vibrations, not the word stupid. Stupids don't leave mouth. The vibrations, shut your mouth. But by the time that word would have left his mouth, and before it had hit your ear, you would have kicked him in the face with both of your feet while sprinting at him, breaking his face off into tiny little pieces. And at that point, you have shot off 5 rockets and murdered 50 other people. Like, that's the reason why there's this disconnect to it. And I'm almost 100% certain that this was very much intentional and very much Gearbox or whoever was developing this game was calling everyone stupid. And if you didn't pick it up, again, if you did not pick it up, you're stupid. And I hate to say that, but it's just one of the things. You can fix it, though. You can join the bandwagon. I hope I'm not the only one. I don't know. I'm kind of on both senses. If I'm the only one, that's pretty cool. If I'm the only one, that's actually pretty amazing. That would be pretty beautiful. If I'm the only one that ever found it. If I'm the only one that thought without bias that the game wasn't that bad, because it really isn't. That would be sad, I believe. But I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who don't, because when I bought it, which was a year after launch, there was a healthy online base at the time. It's probably gone now. It's been 2 years since then. And 2 or 3 years, so the online gameplay of it, the multiplayer, is probably gone completely. But it's still possible, and it might be available, who knows, because it's a stupid Duke Nukem Forever game. It's Duke Nukem game. Gameplay's still there. Gameplay's still kind of fun. Multiplayer was pretty fun. But a lot of it a lot of the things you just can't really explain. You really couldn't explain how. You couldn't really explain how why the thing is I've never what game do they call Duke Nukem Forever stupid so often? What game does the people around him call him stupid all that often? I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe it does happen more often than I know. Maybe it happens so often, and because I've only played 2 of the Duke Nukem games now, that I'm just misinformed and don't have the proper context. But I think I'm right about this. I think I'm right, because Duke Nukem 3D, my bad. I keep saying that. Duke Nukem 3D had not only a cult following, because it's probably even bigger than a cult following, it had a pretty big following, but Duke Nukem Forever was the sole title. I mean, there were other games that came before and after, but none of them that was Duke Nukem 3D. Duke Nukem 3D was pretty special. Duke Nukem 3D was pretty awesome. But that's what I'm thinking. That's the reason why I seriously, I think it's 89. Yeah, I can check again. I think it's 89. Duke Nukem Forever is 89 on my top 100 video games of all time list, and I mean that. Again, that's the reason why it works, because any kind of publisher that can actually make fun of gamers in a way that's intelligent, and in a way that completely predicts how they're going to react even before they play the game, to even understand and analyze the very nature of gamers, and then to throw it back into their faces like that, that's worthy of applause to me. That's worthy of everything to me. That's most certainly worthy of at least admiration from me. And I think even people might not like my opinion. People might not see my opinion as something that is like rational, I guess. I mean, maybe rational's not a very good word, but basically, might think that I'm being too forgiving of the game, because it is pretty mediocre. It's 5 out of 10. Does that really make it one of the greatest games of all time? Even if I do like the fact that they call everyone stupid, does that warrant giving Duke Nukem Forever so much leeway, giving Duke Nukem Forever so much forgiveness for the not so good aspects of the game? And I really do think so, because I can appreciate a game for a message, especially if it's not preachy, especially if it's not, obnoxious and hipstery and pretentious about its own message. I can appreciate that, and that's what the game is, really. It's a slap in the face of gamers in a day and age in which there's three things. People are very afraid to make fun of their audiences, which used to happen a lot. That used to happen a lot. They used to make fun of their audience a lot, and it was a way better time because of it, because gaming wasn't so serious. Like, me personally, I believe that gaming it should be taken seriously. Video games should be taken seriously, but at the same time, you're supposed to have fun while playing video games. You're not supposed to be like all kinds of brooding and hipster and crying and blah, 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 blah. You have to enjoy games. Like, even Spec Ops: The Line. Oh no, I murdered a whole bunch of people. Should be enjoying the game anyways, Whether that makes you feel bad or not, you should enjoy it. You should enjoy playing the game. It's a game. It's entertainment. It's supposed to be fun. It's not serious. It's not the seriousness. But whatever. That's kind of the whole idea behind it. It's like, yeah, this basically, we don't ever get insulted anymore, because, hey, if you insult your fan base, they're never going to want to play your game again. We sure bought our games before. We got insulted. We got insulted all the time. And it just never happened, man. It just never happened. People still buy these games. I don't even get it. But frankly, there's a whole bunch of crap. There's a whole bunch of crap within this game that if you would have taken the time and you would have seen it, you'd have both said that it was bad. I seriously think people would have way more things to complain about. People would have way more things to talk about on how it was bad if they were to walk into this game without having mindlessly hated it beforehand. Ooh, the level design. See, I can't believe people would even complain about the level design. You mean the level design that's generic but functional? Like, there's a lot of things in the game that you can complain about. Like the fact that even on PC, which gives you the option to make it 4, you can only have 4 guns. Remember when you used to be able to carry, like 12? 15? Remember that about Duke Nukem Forever? Like, there's like so much crap. And then people, they complain about that, but most of the complaints were really dumb and really inept, and it was really sad. So yeah, that's basically it. This is actually, I hope I didn't talk about this whole goes, but this is actually how I want it to go. This is how I want Let's Discuss to actually go. I want to talk about things because Jafar is normally for bad things that happen. Jafar is normally for me, like, yelling at and being condescending to the gaming and anime fans for their actions and for their mindless self-indulgence and for their never thinking about what they're talking about, never thinking about the actions they take, and it hurts everything as a whole. Again, it's just like Final Fantasy. It's just like Final Fantasy VII, which was not a horrible game, but definitely quite an overrated game. It fundamentally changed the scenery of video games. It changed it in a very big way. Not as conclusively as Modern Warfare did, but it's the same thing. And when these things happen, it makes things look bad, and you gotta yell at people for it. Just because Final Fantasy VII was popular doesn't mean we need 12 more Final Fantasy VIIs. You know what I mean? Which is funny because Final Fantasy VIII, whatever. But yeah, But frankly, like the Let's Discuss is supposed to be me. It's supposed to be this. In the time when I originally made the series up in my head, I had 3 videos planned, and all 3 of them were from games. Like, they were games that everyone hated for no reason at all, or at the very least there was like illogical reasons for hating it, like Duke Nukem Forever. And I wanted to defend those games because it's weird. It's weird that people would hate a game for the dumbest reason possible, and that's essentially what happened. People hate this game for the dumbest reasons possible. I seriously think this is one of the best games to come out in either 2011, 2012, whenever it did come out. Because of a dumb reason, but at least my reason is rational. At least my reason comes from a place. Comes from a place that at least I can kind of like stand behind. Yeah, but no, I want to do that with Let's Discuss, and that's what most of these videos are going to be from now on. Hopefully, I don't find too many games I'm like, oh, this needs a Let's Discuss, let's talk about it. Yeah, so I've got a couple more that are controversial coming up. Definitely the Metroid Other M video. Oh yeah, I love that. That's going to be a fun one. And I also have my Resident Evil 6 one, because that's the one I have. That's the one I'm honor bound to defend. Whereas Metroid Other M and definitely Duke Nukem Forever, they don't need defending. They have their fans, and they definitely have their place where no matter what anyone says, no matter what anyone believes they say, they have their place within the gaming community already, because you can't really deny. Metroid Other M is still a fun game, no matter what stupid argument you have to say about it, and I'm definitely going to bash those things when I get to it. Duke Nukem Forever is one of the most brilliant games I've ever played in the last 5 years. It's because it's the only game that actually challenges, and I guess not challenges, but it mocks the gaming community in a proper way, I believe, in one of the most intellectually beautiful ways I've ever seen possible. So yeah, there you go. I'm going to see a lot more viewership when my top 100 video games my top 100 video game series actually comes out. But until then, I hope the 5 of you enjoy this, because I know not a whole lot of people actually will be watching this. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to this long thing. I hope you had something else to do other than just sit there and stare at my terrible Photoshop skills, and hope you keep coming back. If not, well, thank you for even spending the time to even click the video. Again, next up will be Metroid Other M, I believe. So, yeah.